Welcome, everyone, to the MMA Happy Hour. I am Kyle Anthony, your host. We're here. We have interviews, MMA banter, and betting advice. This week, UFC Austin, Arman Tsarukyan versus Beneil Dariush. We're going to be breaking down 3 plays like we always do on the show. And listen, we're coming off a bye week, so that was nice. But let me tell you something. The last 4 UFC events, clients have been extremely happy. We have cashed in over 27 units of profit over the last 4 UFC events. Feeling great about it. If you want to become a client, link down in the description. I've got a 5% max play up on my best bets right now. I'm on a 6-0 run on my big plays. Feeling great, seeing the board great. So we want to keep that going. 3 more events for this year in 2023. So I think we're going to really finish the year off strong. Also, if you want to get into the fantasy side of things, Underdog Fantasy Sports, our sponsor here on the show, link down in the description. They're doing deposit matches over there. So take a look if you want to be a part of that. Also, give a thumbs up here. Give it a little thumbs up here. Appreciate everybody who likes, comments, subscribes. Always helps out the algorithm here. And we want to keep that kind of going over here as well, too, kind of building up this channel. So, with that being said, I guess we dive into the main event. So, main event of the evening is Arman Tsarukyan minus 300. On the other side here, we've got Beneil Dariush plus 240. Excuse me. So, with that, let me make sure that's good. With that being said, when you're looking at this fight here, you know, you've got Arman. He is a rising talent in the division, 27 years old, well-rounded, fantastic wrestling overall. On the other side here, you've got Beneil Dariush, UFC veteran, well-rounded guy as well, high-level grappler. And that's something that I think when you look at this fight is interesting. Both high-level grapplers, both guys that are willing to go to the ground, both of them definitely have the ability to get that finish. They're strong in the clinch. They're able to get in the ground, good scrambles. And a lot of those things happen. But when you're looking at this kind of fight, you know, a lot of times when you've got 2 guys that are really good on grappling, it turns into a glorified kickboxing match. And that, to me, could be something that happens in this spot here. And both of these guys, again, in their past fights, they are willing to go there because they're so confident in their grappling ability. But the thing about this fight that I think is very interesting is the fact that both of these guys really support a very strong takedown defense rate. You're looking at it, you've got Arman Tsarukyan, 75% takedown defense rate, Dariush, 80% success rate on defending takedowns. So these guys are not only that they like to go to the ground, but they are actually very good at defending those kinds of situations. If you even look at it also, they're not the best stat-wise at getting the fight to the ground. When you're looking at that also, Arman, 36% success rate on takedowns, Dariush, 34% success rate on takedowns. So both of these guys definitely struggle a little bit when it comes to getting the fight there. And Arman, you know, again, these guys can chain wrestle, and sometimes those statistics can be a little bit skewed a little. But when you're looking at it, that's kind of how this could play out. Now, I think one of the things we're looking at here is that if this fight does play out on the feet, if this fight plays out on the feet, I do believe that Arman has a lot of advantages when you're looking at this here. I think he's younger. He's more explosive. I think that he's going to have the ability to really kind of have the athleticism side of things. I think he's got more versatile striking overall, and I get it. Now, listen, I get it. A lot of people I'm hearing really talking up Dariush's striking. And there has been moments, okay? There's been moments. There's been moments where he has looked good and all of those things, but I am not that high in his striking. I am really not that high in his striking. I don't think it's that good. I think it's a little bit overstated. There's been spots where when he starts to get tired or those things, he can be very sloppy on the feet. He's, it just really sloppy. I going back and watching some of these fights, he gets clipped or he gets in a situation where he's really got to throw some big strikes. He's out of position throwing these combinations. He doesn't look very good where he's looking to counter. Again, he does have some power and he has landed some pretty good shots there. But I think overall, we've seen him rocked, wobbled. We've seen him knocked out. We've seen a lot of things for Beneil that I think if this fight stays standing, highly helps Arman. And on the other side of it too is that, the better combinations are going to come from Arman. Arman, again, is continually evolving, continually getting better. I've been more and more impressed. I think everybody's been impressed by this guy, but more and more impressed really what he's doing, not just focusing on the wrestling, really putting things together. And again, Beneil is extremely hittable, and we've seen it. And no offense to him on this part of it, but when you're getting clipped up by Jakar Close, and he's on this card as well too, Jaguar Close was about to put Beneil away. And it ended up being, he ended up getting clipped back, and Beneil ended up getting this fantastic kind of comeback, in that round. It almost looked as if, Close was going to put him away. That's not that great. I'm going to be honest that I thought that was a terrible showing overall for him, even though he came back. And we've seen some things that he has done overall. But when you're looking at the other side of it, is the competition level. And I think that it's really overstated, in my opinion, that how, his competition for Dariush, and people have talked so much about, oh, he's the guy that could beat Islam. He's the guy that, has the, some striking and he's got the grappling and all these things. And that I do not agree with even a little bit. It's also why one of my client plays was Charles Oliveira to beat Beneil Dariush. And then you see what happened there. He got absolutely dominated. He got sparked out quickly, didn't look good, looked sluggish. And that, to me, yes, that's not good, obviously. But again, people will talk, oh, it's Oliveira, he's a top level guy. That's my problem with this. When he starts facing these higher level guys, I don't think he does very well. And if you look at his last six fights are not really that impressive. I'm sorry, they're just not. You look at it, if you take, and I thought this is interesting here. And again, this is the guy who they're saying, oh, he's, he's having this resurgence. He's older, but he's really coming up. If you take the last six opponents for Beneil Dariush, last six, and you take each of those opponents' last three fights, those opponents' combined record are 5-13. Let's kind of dial that back a little bit. 5-13, and this is supposed to be, oh, he's beaten these, again, Tony Ferguson he beat, he's a shell of himself at this point. I mean, I don't really see much from Beneil. I just don't. I'm not that high on him. I've never been that high on him. Even when he's gotten these wins, I'm just not that high on him, especially at this point in his career. He's getting older. I think that Arman has the paths to victory. I think that he's going to push forward. I think he's going to push that volume out. I think he's going to keep Beneil working. I don't like the way that Beneil takes shots at all. Again, he's been clipped, rocked, wobbled, banged around a couple times. I really think that Arman is going to weaponize that cardio, really push the pace, and be relentless, not look for these takedowns. I don't think that he's going to be looking for takedowns because I don't think he wants to go into that world with Beneil. So I think his fight stays standing, and the pressure and the power and all of those things that come along with this explosiveness of Arman, I think that's where this goes here. So you're looking at the number -300. To get off that number, I do like Arman Tsarukyan inside the distance +110. I think is an absolutely great number inside the distance. Now you look at the knockout number, it's it's +130. I get it. It's probably not that likely that Arman would submit Beneil. I'm not really sure that would happen, but for the price, I'm willing to put it in here. I'm willing to just get any method possible because I don't think this goes to the cards. I do think that Arman finds that finish at some point there. So getting off the big number here, I do like Arman Tsarukyan +110 inside the distance to get the job done. Now, the next one we're going to be talking about here is going to be Rob Font. It says Ron Font on here. Jesus. Rob Font. Ron Font. I mean, that's his brother. Rob Font -140. You've got Davis and Figaredo. He's +120. So you got this fight here on Rob Font. The guy is a fantastic boxer. He's got skills, great jab, good footwork, good distance management. And I think it was a little messed up there. And on the other side here, you've got, Davis Figaredo, former champion, well-rounded, has shown some power and all those great things. But the thing here that you got to talk about first when you're looking at this fight is the fact that Davis and Figaredo is moving up in weight. Now, I absolutely hate that. I hate that pretty much at any point, unless you're like a young buck kind of coming up and you're trying to figure, your size and where you're going to be. And, and you're, maybe you're a young guy, you're growing, you're getting bigger, and these kinds of things or whatever happen that maybe there's reasons when you're younger. But when you're older, you're in your mid-30s, and I don't like that at any point. Now, also on top of that I would say this is probably really not Figgy's choice. Meaning that, first you've got the fact that he just fought 4 times against Brandon Moreno. And that alone, going 1-2-1 over that span, if Moreno's got that title, he's not fighting him. And more than likely, he wouldn't get some kind of, quick opportunity to get the title shot again. You know, Davidson is way below an opportunity, even though he's been there, but just how many opportunities he's had in that division. So they're saying, hey, you got to go to another division to have opportunities for a title run, to you know, totally change it up. Plus, he's in his mid-30s. I don't like that, moving divisions. You know, first time moving up in weight or in a different division. That, to me, again, doesn't really add well, and is probably another thing where his body can't take it anymore. So I don't like a lot of those things that are kind of coming into that. And the fact that he has had basically tunnel vision to fight Moreno. I mean, over the last 2 years or so, he has literally, you know, been just focused completely on Moreno, and that's it. And because he wants that title, I'm sure it meant so much to him to try to get that next win against him, keep the title, all those things. Didn't work out in his way. So this is really where he has now ended up. Now, the other part of it is the fact that, you know, a lot of the things that made Davidson so good, you know, in the flyweight division, I don't really think that he brings those things to the cage against Rob Font, or Ron Font for that matter. I don't really think that he brings those. That's, you know, him bullying, him being the bigger guy, him having the strength, him having the striking power. You know, he really was just a big guy for the division. And that, you know, those are the things that he was able to bully these guys. That I don't think comes in this particular situation against somebody like Font, who, you know, who is bigger, who is going to have some of those advantages. And I just don't think that really works out as well for him. Now, there is a vulnerability on the side of Font when you're looking at him and you're looking at the situation that, you know, he has been taken down. You know, he supports a 46% takedown defense rate. You know, it's kind of iffy, that kind of thing. But we have seen him get washed recently against Corey Sandhagen. And I do get that now. I do get that. Corey Sandhagen was 7 for 7 on takedowns. You know, didn't look that great for Rob Font. But also Rob Font, it was short notice for him. You know, yes, he was preparing for another fight coming up. So it's not like this was a complete, you know, just, you know, didn't know, you know, off the couch kind of thing. But Corey Sandhagen sold out for takedowns, sold out for them. He was hurt, I guess, or whatever it was, and just pretty much just wet blanketed Rob Font over the entire fight, and that was kind of it. So yes, that doesn't look good. I understand that, and that does open up a path for Figaredo. Absolutely, it definitely opens up that path for Figaredo. But also, Figaredo isn't a guy that sells out for takedowns. He's just not that kind of fighter that is just willing to go out there and dive at legs. I also don't think his cardio would support and fuel consistent takedowns. So I think that he, you know, again, this is, you know, he's used to these 5-round wars. 3 rounds, I'm sure, will work a little bit better for him. But either way, he's just not what he does. So when you're looking even at that, he averages 1.44 takedowns per 15 minutes. He's got a 42% success rate on takedowns. I don't think he's going to be shooting for legs. I think it's going to be part of it. I think he was going to mix it up. Of course, it's mixed martial arts. He could be doing those things. But I do think that this is a situation that it's going to play out on the feet. And when it plays out on the feet, I like everything that Rob Font does. I mean, it was, again, another reason why clients, we bet Rob Font against Adrian Yanez, because he's kind of slept on. You know, if the fight stays on the feet for this guy, I think that he is really a high-level striker. That is really what has hurt him, where people have found paths and found ways to kind of beat him up a little bit. And I think this does work out very well for him. He's going to have a 3-inch height advantage over Figaredo. He's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage over Figaredo as well, too. I love the jab. Distance management is great. These are some really good things that if this fight plays out on the feet for a guy for his first time in the division, you know, again, Rob Font is older too. I think Rob Font's like 36 or 37 or whatever it is. And you've got Figaredo, who's 35. But again, moving up in weight, not being the bigger guy, losing some of your advantages from the prior division that you had. I think this is a spot where I think that Rob Font can go out there and get the job done. And I do think most of the equity for Figaredo is going to come inside the distance. I think he's a guy that's going to need to finish. I don't think he can go out there and just wet blanket, you know, Rob Font or win over the 3 rounds and just consistently outstrike him. I think that's really kind of a path for Font, where I think Font can find a finish. I think Font can work at distance, win over 3 rounds. And Font is not a guy that gets finished. And if you look at, he's got 7 losses in his career. He's only been finished one time, and that was Pedro Munoz back in 2017. So this is a guy who is durable, who is, can go out there. He's taken a beating and kept going forward. So I think this is a spot where the money has been coming in, on Figaredo. I don't agree with it. I do like Rob Font and Ron Font to get the job done here. So I'm going to take Rob Font minus 140 to get the job done against Davis and Figaredo. And the last one here, we'll quickly just give you guys this play here is Puna Serano. He's minus 300. On the comeback here, you've got Dustin Stoltzfus plus 240. So this one here, I've heard some people that kind of are leaning a little bit towards the Stoltzfus side because the line's getting a little bit wide. And I do see that. This line is slightly a little bit wide, which is why we're going to get a little bit creative on this one here. But I do understand that part. But boy, I am not putting my fucking money, win or lose, on Dustin Stoltzfus in pretty much any scenario. That's not a comfortable bet for me. Even if there's a little bit of value on it, I don't really find it that good. But if you're looking at this spot here, I think it's a bad matchup for Dustin Stoltzfus. I mean, the guy, could he go out there and look for some wrestling? It's possible. Puna definitely has struggled when it comes to some cardio things. Yeah, I get that part of it, and that kind of situation. If this fight gets deeper, could he find an opportunity? Yes, that's a possibility. But when you're looking at it, Puna's going to go for it. Puna's got 9 victories, 8-5 finish. He will look for those finishes. Now you've got on the other side, you've got Dustin Stoltzfus, who's a 1-4 out of his last 5. 3 of those 4 losses came inside the distance as well, too. So this is a situation where he's a guy that's going to go out on a shield. He moves forward. He blocks punches with his face. He's not a guy that's going to be a kind of willingness, to kind of have this technical skill on the outside. He's going to throw, move forward, and that's really going to be his path. And I think that falls right into what Puna does. And Puna can throw big hammers early, and he's going to look for that early. That's just what he does, because he believes in his power. He believes in his ability, and that, I think, will translate on Saturday night. Also, yes, Puna 2-3 out of his last 5, and that may not look that great, that kind of situation. But the reason for me that I think that he lost those fights were just terrible matchups. I think they were terrible matchups for Puna overall. I mean, he lost to Brendan Allen. We all know where Brendan Allen is headed. He continues to get better. The wrestling, the grappling, and all those things. Nick Maximoff. Now, say what you will about Nick Maximoff, but he's a great grappler. He's definitely a high-level grappler, and he was able to kind of do those things, kind of get on him, grapple him, and just keep that kind of working to find a victory. Roman Kopylov, who continues also impress and get better. And those were matchups that I think didn't really fit well for him. Here with Dustin, who's kind of probably, I don't put Dustin anywhere near those guys when it comes to grappling and wrestling. I think, could he look for it because Puna has struggled a little bit? Maybe. Yeah, I could see that happening. But I think overall, this is going to play out on the feet for most of it. I think that they're going to be exchanging big shots early. And I do like, again, this is another spot. We're going to get off that big number of minus 300. And we're going to play inside the distance is minus 120 now. Again, you guys may say, hey, why not the knockout? The knockout, to me, again, it's not that much of a difference. Minus 105 for the knockout. I'd rather just pay up a little bit, not too much, and get any scenario that happens there at all to get the job done. So I do like Puna Serano to get the job done, minus 120 inside the distance. And there you have it for UFC Austin. If you want to become a client, link down in the description. Got my plays up. I've got 3 right now up. Probably going to have, which I normally do, 4 or 5 plays overall for the card. Some positions that I do really like, and a couple that I'm, a couple little more plus money spots here that we're going to hope to cash in on. So there you have it. There is the show, and we will do this again next weekend. Finish the year strong. See you next weekend. Let's cash.